you know the purpose of this call, make sure we're all on the same page. This webinar is really going to be brokerage focused. What we want to do is review with you the new tools that are an IMLS member benefit in combination with forms that are already an Idaho Association of Realtors member benefit. Show you what's available in the system. Again, this is not designed to be a complete training, but really an overview and introduction to what's available to your brokerages so you can take your company's paperless. I'm going to give you a little bit of a verbal overview, and then we're going to jump into the system. We're going to create a file and walk through it and look at it both from the agent point of view, because that's where the transaction files really start, as well as show you what it looks like from the brokerage point of view, talk about managing files, and what some of the brokerage tools are that you'll be able to use. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, great. So my name is Joe Kazoon. I should have introduced myself to begin with. My apologies. I'm Joe Kazoon. I'm the Vice President of Business and Product Development. I've been here with Instanet for about 6 years. Previous to that, I have a brokerage and a franchise background both. I'm logged in. I know it does say Transaction Desk here. When you all log in, it will say InstanetForms. It is the same system. This is just my demo account that I happen to use. Just to give you some background, when everybody logs into the system for the first time, this is what the system's going to look like. This is called InstanetForms Lite. It is, as the name implies, a lighter version of the system. Everybody has access to both this version, the Lite version, as well as the Pro version, which you see here. It's easy to toggle back and forth between the two. The Pro version is our original version, but a few years ago we came out with the Lite version, and the reason we did that is because we had a lot of people saying, well, I don't want all the bells and whistles. All I want to do is go in and print a blank form because I still fill things out on a coffee table with a pen. Or maybe they told us, well, when I look at a drop-down list of items, things I can do in the system, when I see 12 choices, I get overwhelmed, so I want something more simple. So again, when all of you log in the first time, you're going to see this Lite view. And some of your agents will want to continue to use the Lite view. Some will want to go to Pro and use a lot of additional features that are in Pro. For you as brokerage staff, you're probably going to want to use the Pro version. I'm going to start the demo by using Lite as if I was an agent, and then we'll transition over and we'll go into Pro. Again, everybody has both versions of the system, Pro and Lite. You can toggle between the two anytime you want just by clicking the link in the upper right-hand corner there. There's no extra charge for Pro or Lite. Pro has all of the features the Lite has and more. The Lite version is just a subset of the Pro. The other thing just to note, a couple of other things to note here before we get going is there is English version, of course, is standard. We also do have a Spanish version available. It's also just a quick toggle in case you have any users that would prefer to work in Spanish. It doesn't change the language of the forms or the documents, just of the system itself. So that's available. So again, we're really here to talk about brokerage tools and going paperless. This is really a fairly complete paperless platform. As you know, the Idaho Association of Realtors chose us as their forms vendor. We'll be around for at least the next few years. And Intermountain MLS has now signed an agreement with us to provide document management and electronic signatures via AuthentiSign as a member benefit. So all of your offices will now have a form system, a document management system, and an electronic signing solution that's all one platform. One of our value propositions as a vendor is you don't have to use a form system from one vendor and an electronic signing solution from another vendor and a document management system from another vendor. We provide all of it in one platform. So there's really one system to learn. There's one place to log into. When you go for training or support, you're calling one vendor, so there's a lot of benefits there. Everything I'm showing you today is a member benefit. There's nothing I'm going to show you unless you ask questions and bring up something else. There's nothing I'm going to show you that costs anything additional. So all of this is available today as a member benefit. I just want to make sure that's very clear. Down at the bottom of the site, a couple of things for you to know, and I'm sure you'll want to pass this on to others in your office once you get things rolling. We offer free webinar-based training. At the bottom of the page here, on almost every page in the system in both Pro and Lite, is a free training link. Again, today is really just an introduction and overview. You will want to go take more training, send your agents to training, other staff to training. We have live pre-scheduled webinars. We have pre-recorded webinars. We also give you the ability to link into YouTube, where we have something like 105 different webinars, a full 60-minute overview of the DocBox Document Manager, down to a quick 2 minutes on how to print a form, or 60 seconds on how to print a form, or how to start a transaction file. So there's a whole library there. The other thing you can do, which is nice for your office, is we will schedule a webinar for you. I know there's a link here somewhere. Thought it was on this page. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, and maybe everybody else is seeing it, but I don't have anything on my page. It just keeps telling me my meeting should start in a few seconds. I'm just wondering if everybody's seeing that, or if they're seeing it and it's just my...
Look up at the top and see if you've got more than one GoToMeeting open. The same thing happened to me, and I actually have 3 GoToMeetings open. So close 2 of them down if that's what's happening, or one of them, whatever, and then you'll be able to start.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. Is everybody else seeing it okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good. I have been known to pause the screen and forget to unpause it, so.
Yeah, no, and maybe I just need to relog it or reopen it, because I've got nothing coming up. So, okay, I will do that. It's all good.
And by the way, this is being recorded, so we can, if you do have a technical issue, IMLS will be making this available on a recorded basis. So what I was going to say, although I can't find it, is somewhere on here there should be a link for office training. So if you want to request training for your office, you can do that. And I'll just point you to this 800 number up here. If you go to this 800 number and call it and dial extension 841, that will send you to a guy named Greg. He does a lot of our training, and he can set up one for your office. But again, we also have live webinars scheduled nationally. We also have these recorded webinars, which people like, because they can watch them on a, you can watch them, you can pause them, you can fast forward them, you can go at your own pace, rather than being stuck with someone live like me that will go at my own pace. So anyway, there's free training available. The other thing to know, that's just a general item, is live support. Almost any time at the bottom of the page in the system, there's a link to live support. There's an 800 number here. We recommend calling for support versus text chat or emailing. Calling's the best thing to do. The support is not training. It is support, technical support if you're having issues, but please feel free to call it. And it is open from, I believe, 7 a.m. Through 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Okay. So now that those generalities are out of the way, let me go ahead. We're going to pretend I'm an agent, and I'm going to start a transaction file. That's the way we recommend you work in the system, is to start a transaction file. You will see a Forms button over here, but the forms are also available in the transaction. The reason we have the Forms button there, so someone can come in, quickly create a standalone form or print a blank form. What we recommend, though, is everybody comes into the system and you create a transaction. A transaction is like a manila folder. It's like that folder you pick up when you're about to write a listing agreement or write a purchase offer, write a lease agreement. You're going to start a new transaction. You're going to create a new transaction file. You can name it. And pick a transaction type. Picking a transaction type is important because that will drive things that will happen automatically in the system. And I'll be showing you some brokerage tools that you can use so that when an agent in your office goes in and starts a transaction and picks the type of transaction they're doing, you can define things that will automatically happen in the system. So if one of your agents says they want to do starting a residential sale, you can create what are called quick start groups. There are groups of forms that are automatically added to a transaction. So if you know that every time an agent in your office wants to write a purchase offer on a residential property, there are certain forms like a purchase contract, maybe certain disclosures that they have to have. You can define mandatory and optional forms that must be used with that must or should be used with a transaction. The other thing we'll be showing you is the broker file manager. So when I'm an agent and I make a purchase offer, I fill out some forms. But if that offer is accepted and we get into a transaction, we actually have a pending deal, then there's a lot of other paperwork I need to get together, and that's a whole nother list. You probably have checklists in your offices. So you're now going to be able to create an online checklist in our system. So when an agent makes an offer, you're going to be able to give them forms that they should fill out. Of course, they can add additional ones if they need to. But then once they're in a pending situation, you'll also be providing them online through the system a list of documents they need to provide you before you hand them that commission check. So we're going to go ahead and start a purchase offer. You're going to be able to import data into the MLS. It's going to say in IMLS, not San Francisco MLS, of course. So I'm an agent. I want to fill out an offer. I don't want to have to write in all the property details. I don't have to type in my own information or the listing agent information. So I'm able to pull that data in from the MLS. Notice it's marked me as the selling agent because it knows I'm doing a single family sale, and it's going to pull it in. It could take 5 seconds, could take 30 seconds. Our system is having to go out to an MLS system and pull in the data like it'll be doing with yours. And give it just a minute here. It's going to pull that in, and now you can see that the information for this MLS number has been imported, address, city, zip code, parcel number, etc. This layout is going to be a little bit different for you. The information in Idaho is different than San Francisco, of course. And now you can put in whatever information you want. We train people and let them know that none of this information is mandatory because I may start a file when I'm not even making an offer. I may just want to fill out an agency disclosure and start that file and call it John and Jane Smith, and have them fill out an agency disclosure as I'm showing them homes, and then I can come back in and add more information, import data later, add information to the file to fill it out. So I've got the property information here. I can also put dates in, so I know we're going to make this offer today. We're going to shoot for a whatever, we'll say a 45-day close. That's probably more realistic than the 30-day closes we read about in the newspapers that never really seem to happen. So I put in some dates. I can put in an offer expiration date. All of the information that I'm putting in here right now flows into the forms that I put into this transaction. So everything I put in will save into those forms. So we have the details, the dates, we have the property information. Of course, we need buyers and sellers. So we're going to go ahead and click on the contact tab there. Well, notice we already have the selling agent and the selling broker. That's my info. The system knows who I am. We did an MLS import, so the listing information is already in there. I'm going to add a buyer. We need a buyer for sure. We're going to make an offer. And I already have my buyer's information in the system. We include a contact database. It's not a complex marketing-oriented database, but you know, when you're putting in a buyer information or you've been working with somebody, that information you can store in the system. So if you email them later or fax them later, or you set up an electronic signing and want to add their information, that will already be there in the system, and you don't have to type it in again. A big goal of ours is to reduce redundant entry. I don't know why that's not adding. It should happen much more quickly like that. So there's Joe Byer. He's already there. His email address is in there. I don't really need to fill out anything else. I could put in his address now, but I don't need it yet, so I can put it in. One of the neat things is, as your agents build these files, remember, you as brokerage staff will have something called a super user account, which allows you to log in to any transaction file in your office. So as all of this information is put in there, you're going to be able to access it as well. So you're not having to do redundant work yourselves. Let's go ahead and add a seller. And as you can imagine, I can run through this pretty quickly. I'm doing a lot of talking and showing you stuff, so it's taking me longer than it really would. We know Sally Seller lives at the subject property. We may or may not have contact info for her. I'm going to pretend I do. If I needed to add her to my contact database, I'd just hit add to my contacts. And so I'm adding these people to this specific transaction file, but I also have a global contact list here that's in my account. We're going to go ahead now. We're going to work on the forms. You'll notice here I already have forms in this account. I didn't add them manually. It's because my broker, either myself or my broker, said anytime I do a residential sale, of course I need a contract for sale. I need to have a buyer's inspection advisory or whatever agreements you need in your area. I'm going to make sure these forms are all populated. I'm going to hit auto-populate. And once I'm sure they're all populated with the data I have put in, I can now go into those forms and start editing them. Just as a side note, you can create transactions and edit forms on a PC, on a Mac, on a tablet, whether it be an iPad or an Android tablet. If you really want to torture yourself, you can fill out forms on your 4-inch smartphone screen. So you do have the ability to use a variety of platforms with our system. It's not just PC anymore. Again, PCs, Macs, tablets, even smartphones. So I can log in here. I can see the form. I see all the forms in that file. Of course, out in San Francisco, you need about 40 forms to make an offer, hopefully not as many in Idaho there. If you want to see this larger, this collapses over on the right side here. You can see that this gives me more room to work. I'm not going to go through a full-featured form demo. Again, that's not the purpose of our call, but you just tab through it, probably like you do on your current system. Check boxes. We have pop-up calendars. Where it's appropriate in forms, we do calculations, so we'll automatically calculate things for you as you put in information. You can see that there's a cash balance due and a purchase price, which I actually have wrong. I don't think you could buy anything in San Francisco for $87,000. Probably not even a closet. But you can see here, if I put in a deposit amount, the cash balance down there changes. So we do automatic calculation. I can save forms to my hard drive as a PDF to view offline. Of course, I can print them. If I needed to add a new form to this file, I could do so right now. I can email forms out. I can fax forms out of the system. There's toll-free faxing, inbound and outbound included with our system, no additional cost. So you can fax forms or documents out of our system. You can actually fax documents into our system, and I'll talk about that in just a few seconds here. Forms and documents can be sent out as attachments. I actually like to send them as links because then I know when the other person has read them. The system tracks that if it's a link, and it puts them in the transaction history. One of the big benefits of this system for brokerages and individual agents as well, of course, is that we create a paperless paper trail. Everything that's done in our system is tracked. When you create a file, when you edit a file, when you add or edit a form down to the field level, we track that. If I email a buyer a document to review, when they click the link and open it, we know that we know that the email was sent with that document. We know when the link was accessed. We don't know that it's that person necessarily, but we know that they got it at that email address. We know that they opened the document. We even track their IP address. So if there's a court case 2 years from now and someone says, oh, I never saw that document, you can go back into history and find out, hey, that person opened that document on October 12th at 2:45 p.m., and that IP address actually maps to their house. So I can't believe they didn't actually see that document. Anyway, so we try to track everything. There's a complete transaction history that you can access within the system, and I'll also show you you can access that and pull it offline. So if you're ever audited, if there's an attorney involved, if you for some reason need to get details to somebody offline, you're able to do that, and I'll show you that. It's called transaction archiving. So I can send this off to somebody. Let's say I need to send it to John Buyer, and I can send it off, or it was Joe Buyer. Again, I don't have to retype his information. I'm going to send a fax back cover sheet in this case. We try to make the system very flexible. Some clients are going to sign documents electronically. Some are going to not be comfortable with that, but still want it via email. Some customers are not comfortable with scanning documents and emailing them. So we give you the ability to send them documents via email or via fax, allow them to print those along with a fax back cover sheet that is specifically generated for this transaction. So if I emailed this form to my client, he printed it, signed it, and faxed it back to me using the fax cover sheet, which includes a toll-free number, I would get that fax back as an email with an attachment, a PDF attachment of that signed document, and a copy of that signed document is going to be routed right back into that transaction file that we started. So I'm not going to have to upload it into the system. It's automatically going to route back into that file. So I'm going to go ahead and send this off. And now Joe's going to get an email with that form. I can also send multiple forms. Oh, it's giving me a confirmation that that's sent. I can send out multiple forms by checking them. And again, I have the same options over here to email or fax, etc. I can do some things. I can format the font. I can change font size, font styles, font color. We also have something called a clause library. Individuals have the ability to write clauses and have them pasted into the form. You, as a brokerage, will have the ability to create what are called system clauses that are only seen by your agents in your office or offices. And if I had system clauses, I'd be able to select them just like a personal clause, and that I could then paste into the form. So now your agents are not playing attorney on the run. You're able to put clauses into the system, and they're able to paste those clauses into a form. I'm trying to find a place that would actually make sense. So additional terms and conditions. If I had a clause I wanted to paste in here, I would just go to the clause editor. So again, at the brokerage level, you can define system clauses, which work just the same here. You identify the clause and you paste it into the form. Uh-oh, my browser just crashed. That's not good. Something's going on with my computer. PowerPoint was crashing. It's all right. Let me just close my browser. Okay, that form again. Well, at least it was just my computer and not our system. Can you still see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I didn't lose you. But in any case, you can paste forms into the system, and they'll just paste in as text right there. Let me try that again. Oh, it's making my system stop working. That's not good. I'll have to report that to technical support. Well, we'll skip the clauses for now. So I've filled out the forms. I can print them out. I can email them out. I can fax them out. The other thing I can do in the system is send them out electronically. Part of our system is the ability to get things signed electronically. So let me just run through that very quickly. We were working on a specific file, Boise Street. Because it's all one system, when I go in to set up an electronic signing, I'm going to give this a name. This signing is going to be tied to that transaction file that we started. We're going to have Joe Buyer sign the offer. Again, his information, I just clicked a checkbox next to his name. I don't need to type it in. The forms that we've already added to the file are already presented to me automatically. I don't need to upload them or anything like that because they're already tied into the system. I selected those. Notice it says the default template is applied. And what that is saying is that, has anybody on the call used an electronic signing solution before?
Yes, DocuSign.
Yep. So you know that you have to drag on those signature blocks and initial blocks?
Yes.
Our system on standard forms that are in the system will mark them up automatically. So you don't have to do all that dragging and dropping. So when you or one of your agents starts a file, what's going to happen is you'll notice here that Joe Buyer is highlighted. Look at that. His initial is already on this page. His initial is placed in all the places that he would need to sign because we've taken the Idaho contracts, and if your brokerage has this program in eForms, you'll have a tool to be able to mark these up the same way so that when that form is added to a transaction file, we recognize it and we automatically place the signature and initial blocks and dates onto those. If you still need to make changes or add things, you can still drag on initials and date blocks and things like that, and you can change things if you need to, but a lot of it's done automatically just to make it as quick and as painless as possible. Now, I'm not doing anything non-standard. The document's already marked up the way it needs to be for signing, so all I need to do is now hit finalize and send to signer. I can customize the email that I'm sending to Joe. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and finalize and send that off. Now we're going to log in. Oh, go ahead.
Can you remove a signature block that the system has automatically filled in?
Yeah, you can do anything you normally would. Move, delete, add, change, any of those things. The only difference is that that those things are already on there, so it gives you a head start. Okay. I've already gotten the email from my agent, Joe Francisco. I'm now the buyer. I'm going to go ahead and sign this document. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Normally it would have you pick a password, but Joe Buyer apparently is already registered in the system. But the real difference is he would choose his password by entering it twice to confirm it. We've assigned him a signature. An electronic signature is not necessarily your script signature. It's an ID that we assign you. So we give you this long, complicated ID that's unique to you. You don't need to know it. We just assign it to your account, and then you accept the signature. And that ID and the signature in combination are your legal signature for the purposes of an electronic signing. If you don't like the one we assigned you, you can choose a different font, or you can use Instanet Ink, which allows you to create your own signature using a mouse or using your finger on a tablet. I'm not going to try to do it on a mouse because it looks like a second grader is trying to write their name. But I think it's more useful on a tablet where you can use your finger. But in any case, we're just going to accept this. And you'll see it's pretty quick and easy to go through and sign a document. I always encourage agents, please, just because it's easy to do doesn't mean you don't want to. Signing block. And what happens is the system will walk me through internet connection for a moment. Can you all still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you see that blue flashing box?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens here is the system will take me to every place I need to sign an initial. And I'm not moving my mouse other than to click. The system is taking me through page by page to each place I need to sign an initial. It will not let me skip anything. See the done and accept all? One of the great things as a brokerage, if you encourage your agents to use the electronic signing solution InstanetForms and the documents, as long as they're marked up correctly, those folks cannot skip initials on documents and you won't get incompletely signed documents into your files. So I'm going to go ahead. I've signed everything. Now it lets me accept it. And that was for, I guess, Doc 1. Oh, that was, you know what, I'm sorry. That thing that popped up was an optional signature. I could have accepted it or declined it. I was trying to talk and sign at the same time, and I confused myself. We weren't done signing. That was an optional signature that allowed me as a buyer, in this case, to either accept, in which case my initials go there. If I decline, that space would have been left blank. But I accepted it, so my initials went onto the page. And this is taking me through the final pieces. I have my last one. You'll notice when I click this on the right, that gray done accept all will now change to a red clickable box. Now I'm done because I've signed all of the items or initialed all of the places here. You can see this is an electronic signature. It has a time and date stamp down to the second. It has an ID. We track everything, the IP address of the signer, every person, every document, every initial signature, all of that gets identified in our system. We track the whole history of the transaction. I, as the agent, just got an email saying, hey, John Buyer, Joe Buyer, just signed his document. If somebody else had to sign it, would now automatically be routed to that next person. I could make you as a staff person a CC, so you would automatically get a copy of the signed document, or my assistant or transaction coordinator could. Let's go back into Transaction Desk. I'm going to jump over, or to InstanetForms rather, I'm going to jump over to our existing transaction, Boise Street. Remember, really this is all just set up for kind of the day in the life of a file. So we started as an agent, we filled out the forms, we sent them out for electronic signing. The forms in the system that are editable are forms. Everything else that you'll put into the system, a signed document from a client, an inspection, a title document, that's a document. Every file will have a form section and a document section. The forms are always editable. It's before they're signed. Those are the things your agents are going to fill out. Once they're signed, though, and they come back into the system, in this case, you'll see this electronically signed document now came back in. Remember I talked about the fax cover sheet? People can fax documents into the system, and they're routed right into the transaction file. Well, if somebody starts a transaction and they have a document electronically signed, it's going to be routed back into that transaction file also automatically. You'll notice that we have this checklist here of documents in the file. That's because my brokerage went into the broker file manager, created what's called the document template. It says, for a residential sale, every time one of my agents starts a file, a sale file that's residential, I want this checklist added so that they know all of the documents they have to provide me before I give them that commission check. So here's a list of the documents. You'll see that these are all, most of these are just gray items here. They're not actually documents. They're what we call placeholders. So these are the things that the agent needs to put into the system. Now they can get them electronically signed, or maybe I got it signed by my client, I forward it to the listing agent now emails it back to me. I've saved it to my hard drive, and I need the purchase contract. So I'm going to go ahead and upload it and see if I can find it. Here's purchase contract. I click on the upload button. I now have a fully executed copy sitting on my hard drive that I got in via email. There are other ways to get it in as well, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and upload this signed contract from my hard drive. I could also email it in. I can fax it in. So if I use this fax cover sheet, it would actually fax it not only into this file, but right into that placeholder. The system would know that incoming fax is actually the purchase offer. It would put it right into that slot. So now that I have the executed document in the system, rather than email it to my brokerage or make a copy and hand it to brokerage staff or fax it into the office or deliver it to the office, I'm going to put a check mark next to it, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say mark selected documents ready for online review. Now a couple of things are going to happen. If you as brokerage staff has elected to get an email alert each time a document is ready for review, you will get an email if you're a person that needs to review a purchase contract for a file in your office. I didn't actually click that, sorry. So this document's going to be marked ready for review. An email will go out if that option is set up in the system. The other thing that's going to happen is the status is going to change so that that document will now be marked ready for review. If it will work, I don't know if it's my browser is still having problems. Let me just try this again. Something may have happened on the page. Nothing's working here. Let me. Oh, I'm going to start from scratch. The nice thing about the system is it is all online in the cloud, so I haven't lost any of my work, even though I'm having problems with my computer. Let me try a different browser. It works with Firefox, works with Internet Explorer. Maybe we're having a system issue. Well, while we have this technical pause, do you have any questions so far? I've given you a lot of information. Oh, I'm sorry, in the chat. Okay,
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm not always good at watching that. I'm going to go through all that. So iPad usage. So you can't fill out forms offline on an iPad. There are a couple of things. You can use an iPad as long as you're connected to the Internet, so that is available, but you do need a connection to use them. We do have a desktop version that's going to be coming out with the Idaho forms probably in another month or so. That's only usable on a PC, though. You'd need to use it on a laptop, for example. The nice thing, the bad news is it's only usable on a laptop that's a PC running Windows. The good news, or you can use it on Mac if you have the Parallels software that lets you emulate Windows. On a Apple laptop, I mean. The nice thing about it is that you install it, it synchronizes with your account. So I could come into the system, I could fill out forms online. When I'm ready to leave the office, I'd open up my desktop account, sync it, go work with my client offline without an internet connection. When I'm done making them, I can print forms and create forms, print them and all that. When I come back to an internet connection, I can sync my desktop account, and any changes I made to the forms, any transactions I created, any changes to my contacts, all of that would be reflected in my online account again. So it's a complete synchronization between the two.
If we are using our iPad to write up a contract and we have internet connection, is there a special view we have to go to?
No, what happens if you're using an iPad is we sense that you're using an iPad. When you log into the system, we know you're using an iPad, and we present you all of this stuff that we're looking at here. The system generally looks the same. When you go in to edit a form, the view looks a little different. When you're using a PC, your system will use what's called the Adobe Reader plugin for your browser, and you'll edit the form as an actual PDF. because iPads don't support editing a PDF or they don't support Acrobat Reader, we say, hey, you're using an iPad or you're using a smartphone or you're using Safari on a Mac, none of which support that PDF Reader plugin. We present you with what we call our HTML5 view. So it's just a slightly different look. Most, not all, but most of the functionality is the same. You can still fill out forms. You can still plug in dates. They still auto-populate. You can still do all the MLS import. For those of you that take your work home at night, if you're doing the broker file review stuff that I'm about to show you, you can do that on an iPad. You can do it on a Mac. You can do it on a PC. You can do it on a 5-inch, 4-inch smartphone screen if you really wanted to. You'd still see this same view when you go in and use it. So it does work. Whoops, I'm sorry. I've been navigating around a bit again, and I forgot to unpause my screen. Remember we marked that purchase contract ready for review? So now I'm going to step into a brokerage role. I'm now a brokerage staff person that reviews files. I could be the broker owner, the managing broker, an office administrator. Anybody that comes into the file can see that that is ready for review. I may have gotten an email if I've turned on the email notifications. The other thing I can do at any time is come into the reporting section. Using the reporting link, I go to the broker file review report, and it's going to pull up a list of all the transactions in my office for which I have documents that I need to review. When you set up a document template for your company, you can say that it's reviewable by, there's two role types, staff. So, and this is typical, not always true, but mostly typical from state to state, is that the staff will generally review a whole list of documents, say 20. The broker owner, if it's a larger office with multiple staff people, the broker, managing broker, will then need to review the purchase contract and certain other documents. So you can define who gets alerted for reviews for different document types. I'll show you that in a moment. This is a purchase contract. I'm going to go ahead, open up the contract via a link, because I don't necessarily want to go to every single transaction and look for documents that are ready for review. It's much easier to go to the report. There may be 15 open transactions in my office. I just go to the report. I see a list of all the transactions and all the documents I need to review. I can review the document here. If it's okay, I can click here to indicate this document is completed and has been reviewed. If I do that, there's going to be a green check mark next to that document in the file. If it's not complete, I'm going to be able to write a note, and because my agent didn't get it electronically signed and the client did miss an initial, I'm going to say missing initial on page 6, and I'm going to indicate that it was the buyer, and now I'm going to hit update and send. The agent's going to get an email letting them know that there's an issue with that document. The document's now marked incomplete in the file, and we know that a buyer signature is missing. This column here is missing signers, so I know I'm missing a buyer's signature on that document. It's incomplete. So you can have documents that are completed, documents that have been reviewed by a staff person but still needs to be reviewed by the broker for that office, documents that are ready for review, and incomplete documents. So all of that's available there. So now you have a system for filling out forms and uploading forms, uploading documents into the system, having them signed, getting them back into the system, and being reviewed by staff in the office. So I think, as I was saying before, if if someone that takes your work home at night, no longer do you have to take home 12 bulky, lumpy files and leaf through them trying to find the missing documents and reviewing them and checking off a piece of paper and taking them back to the office and letting the agents know, which forms are missing and which are you've gotten but are incomplete. You can do it all online. You can sit on your couch at 9 o'clock at night with a glass of wine with your iPad and do the broker file review. So it's everything is online. It saves a lot of time. As an agent, I'm not having to get you copies, because as long as they're in my transaction, you can get into that transaction. I showed you the broker file review report. We also have a general transaction link. So anytime I can go into my office or offices and I can get a list here of anybody in my office. I know I need to check out one that's closing tomorrow. It's on Main Street. I don't remember the number. I just know it's Greg's, and it's on Main Street, and there it is, 574 Main. And now I can pull it up, and I can look at this file. I can look at all the documents, review the documents in the file. Maybe I just need to call the title company for some reason. If he's added them to his contacts, I would have access to all the contacts, the forms, all the transaction and property information is all right there. I mentioned before there's the transaction history. So this tracks everything that was done in the file, everything. There's already 92 items here. Didn't look like Greg did very much in this file, but there's a lot there. There's several ways to get things out of the file. So at the end, you or the agent, if you want to pull out just the forms and the documents, you can pull them out into a package. It's a single PDF that has all of the individual PDFs packaged inside it. So if you needed to email that to somebody, you're sending them a single PDF file, not 20 attachments. You could put it on a thumb drive, you can burn it to a CD, you can email it to them. The other thing you can do to a file is archive a file. Let me go back to my home page, find one that I've already archived. It would be in that drop-down menu. I would like to archive this transaction. Here's one I did on Wednesday for a demo for Intermountain MLS. You can see this, it created a single PDF. This archive is more complete than just the documents or folders. It has all of the contacts, so whether it's now, maybe I'm an attorney who's in receipt of this archive, I have the contact information for everybody in the file. I just click on their name and I have that. All of the documents are here, so if I'm an auditor looking through this, I can look through it offline in the system. Here's the purchase contract. I can see the history of it, and if I double-click, I can actually open that individual document up. Again, this is a single PDF that's fully indexed, including the entire transaction history, when it was created, when someone added a form, if that form was emailed out or edited. Here I emailed these forms. You can see I opened the form. All of this stuff, everything that was happened was tracked in the system. So it's very complete. It even shows when the document was uploaded, when it was marked for review, when it was opened again by the next person. Everything is complete, both in this archive, and we do keep all of the transactions on file for the legal retention period in your state. So if you ever need to go back, again, using the report view for those of you that are administrators in the system, you'd be able to go back, and whether that file is a month old or 3 years old, you can go in and you can find a file. And we've got a lot of different search tools. So I know it's Joe's file, and I know it was created last year. So I'm going to say everything before 2012 of this year, and I'm able to pull up all of Joe's old files, and they're in the system. I could have filtered it by status, by open, closed, pending, or whatever, and I can jump right in. I'm running a little behind here, so, oh yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. Is there a way to create, and I'm going to give you the example because it's the easiest way to ask the question. We can sometimes, we'll have a rejected offer, and our office tells us to put a diagonal line through it and just mark it as rejected. Is there a way to do that electronically in this system? You don't have to print it out and write it and then scan it and upload it?
Yeah, there actually is. One of the tools in DocBox, in Pro and DocBox, or if you're in a transaction, we have called the Edit and Markup tool. You could open up that PDF, and there's a line tool, there's a typing tool. You could put a mark through it, and that's a great question. Thank you. So you could mark it up. We try to give you tools, and again, I'm not able to in an hour go through everything in the system. There is a ton here. So we try to give you tools so you don't have to go Adobe. The goal is to take you paperless. You want to be able to do things online that you are doing offline today. We also don't want you to need to go buy other tools like Adobe Professional for $300. So there's a markup tool, so you can mark up documents for the purpose you just mentioned. Or I'm an agent, I have an inspection, I want to send to my buyer, I want to make notes in the inspection form and the inspection document, I can mark it up, type in notes. And by the way, we version all the documents. So if I do edit one, you're still going to have the ability to access the original version that's not marked up, and then you're going to have the marked up version, and you're going to have a time and date stamp on when those edits were made to that document. You can take documents, you can take Word documents and convert them to PDFs in our system. You have the ability to take, you may not want to send somebody all the documents in a file, but maybe you want to send to title the purchase contract, the 6 counteroffers, and the 9 addendums, and you don't want to send somebody all those files, and you don't have a PDF writer, a $300 Adobe Professional. You can merge PDFs in our system. So I could take those 14 documents and merge them into one PDF and email a link or email that document as an attachment to somebody. So there's a lot of tools in here. I want to show you some of these broker tools quickly. First, I want to make sure I get some of these questions answered. If you have specific forms you want to add to our system that your agents can use that are only usable by your company, as a benefit of coming to this webinar today, one of the things that we've done with IMLS that they negotiated in the agreement with us is that there are some free forms available to you. There are a limited number of pages that we can program for you for free. Normally, forms programming is $50 per page. But right now, if you get your forms in to us, there's an address here, forms@InstanetSolutions.com. You're going to be able to send us these forms as PDFs or Word documents, and we will program them for you and make them available to your office as fillable PDFs that can be auto-populated. So again, you would email those as PDFs or Word documents. The PDFs cannot be scans of paper documents. They need to be actual PDFs and with text in them. And the way I tell people to figure out whether we can use them or not is if you can copy and paste text out of that form or at least highlight individual sections of text, we can probably program them from it. If you click on that PDF and all you see is the whole document highlighted, it's probably just a scan of a form. So you can email them to forms@InstanetSolutions.com. You'll get a reply and acknowledgement that we received them. We'll let you know that they will be free or that you're too late if you don't send them for a few weeks and all the free forms have been used up. We'll let you know that, and we'll give you an opportunity to decide whether you want them programmed or not for a fee. If you have questions that you can't get answered via email, you can call Mark at 800-668-8768, extension 827. It's up on the screen, and he can help answer questions. He does work Eastern time, so you'd want to call him between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, which I think is 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. your time. So get to him earlier during the day rather than later. But again, right now there are free forms of programming available to those of you that have come to this webinar and the one that we held on Wednesday. We also have one more coming up on, I believe, Wednesday of next week. But that offer is just for people or companies that have attended the webinar. So you get a great benefit. And again, normally it's $50 a page. So if you send us 10 pages, you're getting $500 of free programming done. So again, those will be put in a folder for you that only your company will see. A couple of questions that came up that I missed. Can two people with the same address sign electronically? Yes, you just need to, we know by your name and your email address, and then you need to choose a different password. So you can still use the same email account. We know some people share those. So back to the system, just to wrap up here, and I will stay over for questions because I was running a little late. We had a few technical glitches. Clauses, I talked about that. It's really simple. Anything you do when you come to the broker tab, anything you do here will be seen by everybody in your office. So if I come in and create a clause, and I'm going to add a new clause, I don't have a very good imagination. I'm going to add the same one that I always use, and you type in the information, and now you save that. When I come into a form as an agent, I'll see that as a system clause. So now anybody would see that. We talked about quick start groups. Groups are packets of forms that you would create, and I'm going to call this Boise. If any of you are in multi-office companies or you serve multiple, even single office serves multiple cities that may have differences, maybe there's a certain disclosure in a certain county or township that you work in that's different, you can create different quick start groups. You can create different transaction types. So if the one that you want is not in here, you could select, you could create one on the fly. So the system's very, I'm going to say, very flexible. So I create a new transaction type. I'm going to save it, and now I'm going to add the forms. So now I'm going to be able to add forms, whether they're state forms, local forms, broker forms, whatever combination of forms I need. We actually have Fannie Mae forms in there that they require if you're doing a Fannie Mae deal, and you can quickly and easily select forms, save them, and now that's as long as it took me when an agent comes in and starts a transaction that says it's a Boise residential sale. Now all of these forms are automatically going to be added when they start that transaction. Document templates, again, this is just an overview, so I'm running through this quickly. You will have plenty of opportunity to go through training with us. And by the way, for those of you that commit to going paperless as a company, not only will we help you with point-and-click training, we can even help you lay out a project plan, figure out who's going to get trained when, help you with webinar-based training, talk to you about the process of going paperless as a company. It's not just about the point and click, but how you maybe change the way you work or how the system can best be adapted to the way you work so you don't have to change the way you work. We'll try to help you through that. We've helped companies go paperless from 10 people to companies with 1,000 or more agents in the company, which is actually much harder because there's a lot more people to deal with. So we have a lot of experience with that. We can certainly help you through webinars like this, conference calls. There's no additional charge for that. So here's one that I created. We'll see if it's very complete. But what you do when you create one is you give it a name. Whoops, sorry, having trouble with my mouse. When you create one here, you give it a name. You select whether you want it automatically added to a certain transaction type, and you add these placeholders, which are just documents. So if I want to add a document that both the broker and the agent, or both broker and general staff need to review, we'll call it we'll say the purchase contract, and of course in this case everybody needs to sign this document, and now I've added the placeholder, and I can even set in order where it goes. So I want to make this the first document, or maybe I want the agency disclosure to be the first document. And now I can save the template, or I can add additional documents. So this is creating that list of documents that you need before you hand someone the commission check or before you can consider the file complete. You'll have the ability to add shared contacts. So when you're in this view and you add a contact, rather than just adding it to your own account, this would be seen by everybody in the company. So they've added a guy named DuPont with Wells Fargo. Everybody would see that. So inspectors, title agents, people that a lot of people in your office typically work with, you can add. I've already talked about custom types, whether it's a contact or a document or a property type. You can add those for your company. You can't change the system types that are defined at the Idaho Association of Realtors level or the IMLS level, but you can add your own. One other thing that's useful to know is switching accounts. If I have a licensed assistant or my broker needs to go in and I call my broker, look, I'm in a pinch, I'm late, or I need help with something, can you create an addendum for me? I can actually have my broker can actually come in. Let's say I'm Steve. My broker can actually log in. We know you're aliasing someone else, but then my broker can come in and create a transaction for me or create a form for me that will have my name on it. The other place this is useful, you know, you're going to have some agents that really want to go paperless and are going to jump on the system and do everything, and then you're going to have others. You're going to want to go paperless as a company, but some agents, you just know they can barely turn on a computer, and they'd still rather we have listing books and carbon copy versions of forms. So, you know, we encourage you to get your agents to do as much as they can in the system, which will alleviate your workload, but we know there are some people that are just not going to want to do it. So there are a lot of brokers that have told their agents, well, you don't have to use the system, but we do have a new rule in the company. You can no longer hand paper to staff. So what those brokerages have done is told these agents that they know are very reluctant to use an online system that, hey, we know you're not going to use the system, you've told us that, but you still can't hand us paper. So when you get a new listing, walk up to the administrator in your office or the broker. You know, sounds like someone's getting a call. You're going to ask them to tell you what the transaction is. You can log in as them. You can come in here.
No, I'm fine.
I'm sorry, we can, just so you know, we can hear your phone conversation.
I'm shining, it's gorgeous.
I'm going to mute you all for just a minute so I can finish up, and then I'll unmute.
You mean in the winter time? I would think it could get, you know, down to 0.
All right. So quickly, just to wrap up, so I've got an agent who doesn't want to work in the system. I'm going to create a transaction for me. So I've logged in as Steve. If you see up here in the upper right, I'm going to create a transaction for him. All I'm going to do is name it. I'm going to mark him as the selling agent, or let's say in this case it's a listing. I'm going to start there, start the transaction. Then I'm going to print out about 20 copies of that fax cover sheet. I'm going to hand those to him, and I'm going to say, Steve, you know, anytime you get a document for this deal, you know, I know you're not going to use the system and upload it, but I need you just to fax these documents in. Now all the documents that he gets, he'll use this fax cover sheet. We'll read the barcode. We'll know it belongs to this file. It's going to go to the toll-free number. He doesn't have to know how to scan. He's not handing me paper anymore. Now all the documents are being converted into PDFs. By the way, I always tell people, if you have a client you know that's not going to email you documents or sign electronically, give that client copies of this fax back cover sheet. Let them fax documents to you using our system, and then by faxing to this toll-free number, we'll read the barcode, we'll email you a copy, we're going to put a copy in the file, and now you're not having to scan those documents and upload, neither the brokerage staff nor the agents, and it's a way of having the clients help you go paperless. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions, and we'll move to wrap up. I'll stay on for a few more minutes and make sure all the questions get answered.
And she's still working on trying to get the information that we requested yesterday.
And you can also use the chat. We do have someone on a call, but I can't identify who they are. Otherwise, I'd mute them. But do you all have any questions?
I have a question. So on your fax back cover sheet, I see that you've got your business logo at the top. Is that something where you're talking about the forms that we would want converted?
Okay. Yeah, great question. So there's two types of branding in the system. You have the ability to, if you have your own forms, we can put your logos on it. I don't believe IAR allows their forms to be branded.
Okay.
So there are forms branding. So if you have us program your forms, we can put your logo on them. But there's also up here in settings, this is one brokerage tool that's available in your personal settings area. You can upload branding. So as a super user, again, a super user is someone who sees the brokerage tab. You can upload a banner. You can upload a logo for your brokerage, and those will go on all of the outbound emails, on any outbound faxes, on the fax cover sheet, as well as something I have not even told you about, something called the customer service portal. Remember, we were adding John and Sally and people to the file. I can add people and I can actually make them not only a contact but a participant and invite them into what we call our customer service portal.
Right.
And I can actually give my buyers online access to certain forms and documents and things like that. That is all branded. If you do the broker branding, you can apply that to everybody's account in your office, so you know that the logo looks good and you know your agents aren't putting up some other kind of branding and you're controlling it as a brokerage.
That's great. And so you also said that the pro version of this is also free to the agents. Is that correct?
Yes, everybody gets the pro and the light version. What certain people will get is this super user account. Any office staff or broker owner really that owns or runs a company can get a brokerage account. We're working with IMLS so that those accounts will automatically be assigned if you have the right role in the MLS. The other thing you'll get information on from them is how to request a super user account if that doesn't happen automatically. We don't just have you call us and say, hey, I should have a super user account, because we've got 400,000 users around the country. We can't readily determine whether you're someone who should have access to all the files in the office or not. So I'm working with Greg Manship, CEO at IMLS. They're going to publish a method so that they can say, yes, this person should have a super user account, and they'll let us know. And again, we're also going to try to make that happen as automatically as we can through the login from Paragon. So we say, hey, that's user type 4, that's a designated broker, that person should have a super user account automatically.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Other questions?
When does this go active to our agents?
It's already active.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
And sorry, one more question. So legally, we really, truly can go completely paperless. We don't any longer have to have files for people to go through if we are audited.
Yeah, you can go totally paperless. I mean, all of your transactions you can store in here. Again, you can have agents upload stuff. I really encourage you as brokers to get your agents to use it and get them putting documents in because it's going to save you a lot of work. Brokers that say, hey, I don't trust our agents, we'll just scan everything, you're going to get way behind quickly. But yeah, you can do everything online. We keep it all for the legal retention period in your state. I don't know whether that's 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, but right now we're actually we've been keeping everything. So it'll be there. And again, you don't, 3 years later, you have to find a file. You're not driving to a storage facility and rummaging through boxes. You're just logging in here, doing a quick search, pulling it up, print it, email it, save it to a disk, thumb drive, whatever. It's just hand it to somebody that needs it. It's just so much easier.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, and all this stuff I showed you is all a member benefit. The forms are a member benefit of IAR, and the DocBox and Authentisign are a member benefit of IMLS, but it's for you all in one package, so when you or your agents log in, they see all of those options in one place. And it is turned on. The upgrade to DocBox and Authentisign have already been turned on for Intermountain members. Other questions? Going once, going twice? Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope this was useful for you. Again, you can go into the free training site. You can go through webinars. You can also email us and request training for your offices. And we can give you free consulting as a brokerage. So have a great day. Again, thanks for attending, and have a great weekend. And I'm going to see chats. I'm going to go ahead and answer any of those. Oh. Have a great day.